Okay, we're here with City Council candidate Danny Ivanov, Chair of the Rent Control Board. Danny, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
You want to just start off by telling us about yourself and your campaign?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a first generation American. My parents came to this country as refugees with $20 to their name. They each worked multiple minimum wage jobs. And just one generation later, I'm an attorney, I'm a candidate for public office, and a public servant. And that's why I'm running. I'm running because that level of social mobility, I think, is becoming less and less feasible, specifically here in Santa Monica, even more so than other parts of the country, just because of how unaffordable it has become to live here. Um, so, as I mentioned, I'm an attorney. I will have served a full 4-year term on our rent control board come November. I'm very proud of the work my colleagues and I on the rent control board have done, delivering on affordability issues for our community. We implemented Measure RC, providing much needed relief for our renters after facing the threat of the largest rent increase in decades, if not ever. We banned banked rent increases, and we increased the amount of money that tenants could recover in disputes with their landlords to keep up with inflation for the first time since 2016. So I'm very proud of my record on the board. I've invested time in this community, serving on this board. I've built relationships across our city. So I think I'm somebody that can really um, be an effective council member on day one.
Cool, thanks, Danny. You argued in your questionnaire that Santa Monica needs to build significantly more housing. If you were considering a project that generated a lot of housing at all income levels, but also generated a lot of neighborhood opposition, what would be your guiding principle for how much to respect the community input versus moving forward with the project that you think is really right for that location?
Well, I think it's definitely a balance, right? There are always going to be some folks that are opposed to projects. I think we need to make sure that everyone feels heard, and that this is an open, transparent process where people can come to council and share their views. This is something that I have experience on our rent board, where for example. All of my colleagues don't always necessarily agree on an issue, and so part of that is building coalitions and finding a compromise. Maybe if I have a project in mind that gets a lot of opposition, but then maybe if there's some sort of compromise that we can achieve that gets more people on board, then I would be open to the compromise where we can build a coalition to actually get it implemented.
Okay, thanks. Let's go to Mike.
Hi, Danny. So let me follow up on that. Most of our projects go through administrative approval. So the real question is, what zoning exists? And so my question is, other than boulevards in downtown, what upzoning of either the single family districts or the multifamily districts do you support?
At this point, I support only focusing on our downtown core and along our business district. I always talk about building where it makes sense, and I think downtown is where it makes sense to build because I think I mentioned this several times in the questionnaire, but I view this as an economic development issue as well, because I think if you get more housing in our downtown core, you're then naturally going to generate more foot traffic to patronize those local businesses on our promenade and in our downtown. So I always advocate for building where it makes sense, and my focus is going to be in our downtown core. That's where I support upzone.
Okay, thanks. Kay.
Hi, Danny. My
Okay.
question, hi. What do you believe are the underlying root causes of crime, and how can the city council work to address those?
Absolutely. I think one of the root causes of crime is disinvestment in some communities. lack of economic opportunity, um, that then lead individuals to potentially commit crimes. So we need to be making sure that we're investing not just in our downtown, but we're investing in every single part of our neighborhood, providing resources, addressing environmental justice issues in our Pico neighborhood. So we just need to make sure that we're investing resources in a smart, equitable way in every single neighborhood in our city, and not leaving certain neighborhoods behind.
Thanks.
Okay, Isabel.
Yeah, hi Danny. So
Well,
you know that the city council has launched this revitalization realignment plan to revitalize the city. But then as part of this, they sponsored a bill, AB 1470, that was or was it 1740? 1740.
Yeah.
That was quite controversial. And I was surprised to see in your questionnaire that you were supporting at least parts of this. So I'm curious to know which parts of it you supported, and also the bill was recently amended earlier this week, and how you feel about the amendments.
Sure. Yeah. So obviously the bill has been substantially amended, and its scope is now substantially less than what it used to be. What I originally supported was specifically the economic development pieces of the bill. I was not supportive of the housing pieces of the bill at that time because I didn't think they were necessary, given that the city was already in the process of developing an LCP. But I supported the economic development pieces, things like if a business wants to do a simple conversion for outdoor dining, those things were getting bogged down in years of red tape and studies and hearings and reviews and things like that. And I didn't think that's a smart way to do business. In terms of the current version of the bill, I absolutely support the amended version now that is substantially limited in scope, because I think the goal here is we all want to get an LCP in place so that we can get rid of this duplicative permitting process, and cutting a lot of that red tape. And I think this bill is a really great step to hopefully accomplish that goal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thanks. Let's go to Sean.
Hi, Danny. Do you
Hi, Sean.
support the current at-large council district structure, or would you support a district-based election system?
Yeah, I do support the current at-large structure. I know there were lawsuits in the past to try to get districts and have every neighborhood represented by a district. But I think the at-large system works for our city at this time, and I don't really see a reason necessarily to change the system at this point.
Okay, let's go to Keith.
Hey there, Danny. How you doing?
Good to see you.
Good seeing you. In your remarks, you described structural and governance reform, and in particular, I think your statement was speaking to public financing and then also higher wages for electeds. Can you kind of share with us a little bit deeper what you were really gleaning when you made those statements?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I think I talked about creating an independent ethics commission that could hold electeds accountable. I think that's really important so that we have a structure to actually do that. In terms of public financing, I'm talking about things like matching funds, for example, that could encourage more candidates from different socioeconomic backgrounds to get involved in public service. I think there's perhaps a lot of people that feel like money is so dominant in politics, and they feel like they can't get involved because they don't have the resources to raise enough money to adequately compete in an election. So I think maybe exploring a matching fund system could encourage some people that typically don't participate in politics to maybe want to get involved. And same thing with like a very modest increase to stipends for electeds. I think could do the same thing of encouraging more people from less means to participate in our political process.
Great, thanks for that.
Thank you.
Let's go to Lynn.
Okay, hi Danny, good to see you.
Hi, Lynn.
Um, When answering the homelessness question, you said, and I'm just going to quote it, let's bring together a coalition of city, county, state partners and our business community to work together or work toward a reasonable target goal we can achieve, whether it's reducing homelessness by 10%, 15%, by 2030. Can you expand on that idea a little bit and maybe give a couple of specific things the coalition could do to help reach the target goal?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I wish we had federal partners that we could include in that as well, but unfortunately, we don't at this point in time. Hopefully, in a couple of years, but that's why I mentioned, city, county, regional, state, and even the business community. But the thing that I'm trying to communicate is that I think we need to get buy-in from the community. We need to get buy-in from the community that we're taking our homelessness issue seriously. Our business community also needs to see that we're taking this issue seriously. And I think bringing everyone in the room together to leverage city funds like Measure GS, leverage county funds like Project Home Key and Room Key funding to, agree on this target goal, and then use that money to hopefully implement it and get some of those results. In terms of some concrete steps, I think I laid out as well. I really view homelessness. I view it as there's a prevention piece and an intervention piece, right? And the prevention piece is we want to prevent people from becoming homeless in the first place, right? So we need to make sure that we're expanding emergency rental assistance programs, expanding our pod program, expanding our right to counsel program, scaling up some of our diversion programs that we have, like SAMO Bridge and Step Court, because it's really key that you get to individuals before they get caught up in the revolving door of the criminal justice system. And then the intervention piece is we really have to invest in transitional and permanent supportive housing, with wraparound services like mental health treatment, substance abuse treatment, job training, things like that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Anyone else have a question? Oh, Andrew.
Yeah, sure. Hey, Danny, how's it going?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. So in your questionnaire, you'd mentioned, it was actually, I think, the very last question about AI usage and how you didn't use it and haven't used it and had no plan to use it, which is amazing. However, these technologies do exist. We do see governments and localities embracing these things, bringing them in, using them. What's your position on these things for the city of Santa Monica? How should we be using them? How should we not be using them in the years ahead?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. Look, I think for certain, limited niche things where it makes sense to use AI, and I'm thinking about things maybe like data collection, or congregating information. I think things like that, it might make sense to use some sort of AI technology, rather than having, a staffer pour over all these numbers when we all know we already have very limited staff resources and time. So if I can be shown that there's some kind of niche issue like that where AI use would actually make sense and open up more staff time and resources, I would be open to it. Generally, like as I mentioned, I'm averse to AI just because I unfortunately think some people use it as a substitute for critical thinking skills. But again, for limited things like data collection, I think it could be make sense to implement it.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? I appreciated you not your hearing your voice in their questionnaire, Danny, compared to AI.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
And if we have more time, I could ask another question. Do we have?
You can ask another one. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just ask you, maybe an easy one, Danny, but throughout your questionnaire, you said affordability is one of your top issues and that how Santa Monica has become unaffordable for so many people, especially, young adults like yourself and also seniors and so on. So what would be some of your top approaches to addressing the affordability problem?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously there's no silver bullet, right? We're not going to wave a magic wand and make everything affordable again overnight. So I think this really has to be a multifaceted approach. I touched on some of it already, right? I think on the front end, you got to stabilize our long-term tenants, expand emergency rental assistance programs, our pod program. We have to make sure that we're strengthening our tenant protections and also enforcing the existing ones that we already have on the books. We have to enforce our short-term rental ordinance and making sure that we're preserving our housing stock for our residents and not our tourists. And yes, like we already talked about, in the long run, we do have to build more housing. We have to, upzone our downtown. And like I said, that's not going to make rents come tumbling down overnight, but to eventually bend the affordability crisis in the long term, we really need to start making those investments now, with more housing production.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to go to Philippe since he hasn't asked one yet. Go ahead, Philippe.
Hi, nice to meet you, Danny.
Hi,
Uh,
Philippe.
I'm a junior right now in high school and I'm getting ready for college. So one of my questions I'm going to ask is like one of the biggest things I noticed when I was looking at college tours was crisis with college students and apartments. So how would you be willing to like cooperate, work with colleges to help out these students that are like entering colleges and need places to stay, like apartments to stay?
Absolutely. Well, for example, here locally in Santa Monica, I know we've had we've passed bonds in the past as a city to build more student housing on our SMC campus, to accommodate our students. So we need to be looking at things like that and partnering with SMC to do that. Um, but again, also, wherever you go to college, I want you to come back, and live here. And unfortunately, a lot of students and college age kids can no longer do that because, as we talked about, it's so unaffordable to live here, right? So I want to make sure that, besides partnering with SMC, we're building more housing in our city in general, so that you can actually come back here one day, and live and thrive and invest here and raise a family here in Santa Monica.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Philippe. And I think that'll do it. So thanks, Danny. Appreciate you coming by.
Thank you. Can I make like a very brief closing? Is that
Sure,
okay?
totally.
Yeah, I just wanted to share. Look, I know, I think you guys have a very tough decision to make. There's a lot of candidates in this race, and I would just urge the board to take into consideration, who has experience in local government, who has invested time in this community, who actually has a voting record of results. Again, there's a lot of candidates. I think a lot of people are going to, say all the right things, talk about affordability, hit all the right buzzwords. But I urge you to take into consideration, who has experience in local government and actually has worked on these issues already.
All right. Thanks, Danny.
Thanks, guys. Take care.